So we're talking about Socrates, Before and After Socrates by Cornford again, pages 34 to 45. Right, for Socrates, the end or purpose of life, what we should be striving for, is to make our minds, our souls, as good as possible, which means to control, right, the emotive and appetitive sides, right, of our personalities, such that our rational elements come to the forefront and make our decisions for us and not behave immaturely as a result of appetites or emotions. Right. So what Socrates would spend his time doing, right, he would camp out down by the money changers in the Athenian Forum. Now Athens had a city center. Prague has one. Really, European cities, they traditionally have a city center. And kind of where you go down to conduct business, right? Athens had one of these things as well. And the people coming to town from outside of town had to go to the money changers first to get the Athenian drachma, their local currency, so you could then conduct business. So it's kind of like this place you would sit if you wanted to get all the news from outside of Athens coming in. So Socrates camps out down by the money changers. But then if a politician wanted to give a speech, you'd also go down to the forum and you'd give a talk, and Socrates and his friends would wander over here to the talk and maybe ask some questions, maybe do some heckling if the guy didn't know what he was talking about. That'll come up later when we talk about Socrates and his eventual fate. He does make some powerful enemies. And right, showing a politician in front of everybody, the politician doesn't know what he's talking about, is not always the best way to make friends. Right, but for Socrates, right, ethical knowledge was developing this personal and direct insight into ethical matters. For him, right, we all possess this inner understanding of ethics. It becomes obscured by things like our appetites, like our emotions, like our social programming, things we've been taught and told since we were children, which may or may not be true. And these appetites, emotions, and social programmings obscure, right, the good from our vision and block us from it. So Socrates would use a series of questionings when asking people to help take them through, right, these obstacles to their inner ethical side so they could see what it is, right, to be ethical. For him, it's not a complicated matter. Being nice, being kind, thinking about others, being fair, these aren't hard concepts to understand. They're hard concepts to put it continuously right into operation because things like our emotions or appetites, right, we have friends, we have people we like, we don't like, these things get in the way of channeling, right, this ethical side that for Socrates we all possess. And so Socrates is in competition when he's trying to teach people to be self-ruling, right, self-legislating, right, and therefore capable of becoming members of a full-fledged democracy, people that can choose their own leaders because they can actually run their own lives simultaneously, right. He's going up against these what are called sophists. These are traveling wise men, people that come in and will teach you how to speak well in public, right, win a court case, right, teach you some passing wisdoms. And they could be destructive. Right? One example of these was the sophist Antiphon. Right? And he would teach, right, that there are laws of nature and there are laws of the state. Laws of nature command self-preservation and pleasure. Laws of the state can command things contrary to self-preservation and pleasure. For instance, the state command that you go to war. It's called a draft. Right? It's contrary to self-preservation. You get killed in battle. Right? And taxes. Right? Taxes are not fun to pay. They're contrary to pleasure. So where does the authority of the state come from? If nature commands self-preservation and pleasure, and the state says, no, you should be doing other things that aren't about self-preservation, aren't about pleasure, where does the state get its authority? Now, it may be able to force you to do this with police, with jails and penalties and fines and whips and chains and things like this, so you must comply with them. That's an argument from force and not an argument from reason. And so the clever person, says Antiphon, will find a way around, right, these rules and pursue self-preservation and pleasure. So where does the authority of the society come from? And this is a really, really, really good question. One, a society that's well constructed can answer and explain to you why we're doing this and not doing that. If they can't do this, you may get in trouble for asking these questions, but it's a good example of they really know what they're talking about. Right? Anytime you have a policy or rule, you can justify and explain this in light of the history that's gone on before, right, or you probably have an arbitrary and capricious rule that should be questioned. Right, and that's kind of stuff that Socrates had me in trouble, right? Saying stuff like this, but it's true, folks. You just can't go around believing nonsenses, right? So this questioning of the rules handed down by previous generations is healthy because it at least allows you to keep the rules that make sense and stand up. If they cannot withstand analysis, there may be reason to think about changing them, right? So this is what Socrates is engaged in with the youth, right? What you're reconstructing, right, kind of the social ethics, the ways you're going to go about living your life as you go through life to make sure they correspond to your experiences, right? That kind of thing he wanted to do. But you've got these people on the other side, the sophists, who are just trying to make a quick buck off this entire process. And the two gets convoluted in the Greek mind, and that's why Socrates will eventually get himself in a great deal of trouble.